And when you do think about it in the lens of irrationality, it makes sense why most people don't have that amount of determination.
Because a rational person would stop.
Would stop. The amount of sacrifice we did make to like get Fresh Prince working was massive. I think a rational person would be like, why am I giving up all of these things for this business?
But of course, on the other side, it's now
There's glory.
There's
glory.
So we are here with the CEO, and actually, as I read on your LinkedIn, Director of Sales, which seems to be an unelevated title for what you do every day at Fresh Prince, Jacob Goodman, as well as the CEO of Frontier. Welcome. Thrilled to have you on our latest episode of Out of Scope.
Should I change my title?
Well, let's talk about it. So I was looking on your LinkedIn before we hopped on, and it did indeed say Director of Sales, Fresh Prince. Is that intentional? Is that
it's actually a good question. So when we started, me, Josh, and Yolite, my two other partners, all gave ourselves C-level titles. But we realized if we started with those titles, we were kind of boxing ourselves in to like recruit, let's call it VP level titles next, but we weren't ready to pay VP level salaries.
Oh, interesting.
And the company wasn't big enough. The company didn't need, you then need to hire VPs and directors and managers, et cetera, going down. But we were small. I mean, at the time, we probably did $3 or $4 million in revenue. And so we realized we're like, if we inflate our titles now, that's just going to catch up with us. So we actually, at the time, made all of ourselves managers.
Interesting.
So the first time we ever titled the company, my title was, well, at first I started as maybe it was the Chief Revenue Officer. I don't even honestly remember. But then maybe our first year out of school, so this was 8 or 9 years ago, we titled ourselves down to, I was co-founder and sales manager. And then titled it up to director, and then titled it up to now VP of sales. But basically just kept titling it up based on whatever the actual layered need of the company was. So once we actually needed a layer of directors, then I titled myself up to VP, et cetera, et cetera. So I've actually really been in the same role, but have just titled it differently based on the size of the company.
Evan and I often joke that in addition to our titles being CEO and president, that he's junior copywriter and I'm finance associate.
Yeah, exactly.
But let's go back to the beginning, because I sort of just jumped right into it. So tell us a little bit about Fresh Prince, what you guys do. You and I have obviously known each other, been working together, been friends for a long, long time now. And you've taken this business and grown it into what was a small little, I think mostly WashU based operation, into a national custom branded merch organization. So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah. So the short is we sell shirts. And started, so we didn't found Fresh Prince. That's the first strange part of our origin story.
Right.
Josh, one of my business partners, and I bought Fresh Prince with Josh's bar mitzvah money.
I won't ask how much.
No, you can ask how much. We paid $30,000 for, maybe Josh will be upset if I said that, but it's okay. Sorry, Josh. We paid $30,000 for the company. The company did $190,000 in revenue and $30,000 in profit. And we said to the founders approached us, said, do you guys want to buy this company from us? They were two guys in our fraternity at WashU. And we said no at first, but we'll run it for you. We ran it for them, drew a salary for the first 5 or 6 months. And then Josh said, why don't we buy it? I had just bought another company on campus that I had taken a loan out from my parents to buy. So I went back to them for another loan. They said, screw you, in not so nice of words. Um, and then I went to Josh. I said, I have no way of coming up with the capital. And he said, we'll use my bar mitzvah money, and I'll give you a loan. So I said, okay, that's really generous and great. So we went back to the guys, said, we'll pay you $30,000 for the business. They said, that's crazy. That's only 1 times EBITDA. That's not, where are you getting that valuation from? We said, we're getting that valuation from nowhere.
From how much you would
That's how much
buy.
money we have available, period.
Right.
So we said it's $30,000 or we can't buy the business. So they came back and they said, well, the alternative for us is closing it down. So
Wow.
so that was it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That is shocking. So if you didn't buy it, Sasha Sherman was going to close it down.
Sasha Sherman and Jason Israel, who we actually ran into Jason somewhat recently while we were out with the entire Fresh Prince team, and he was so excited. We're like, this is the founder of Fresh Prince, and everyone went nuts. But yeah, Sasha and Jason, who were childhood friends from either White Plains or New Rochelle or Mamaroneck, somewhere in Westchester.
Irvington, I believe.
I don't think it was it?
That's where JD's from.
Yes, but that's not where Sasha and Jason are from.
Right.
Yeah, so there was a third founder as well. But yeah, so they Jason already had a job at Morgan Stanley or JP Morgan, one of the banks, and Sasha was hired away by Aaron Greenwald to start
the pizzas,
Bold Organics,
right? Which did very well, right?
Yeah, I think so. I don't remember the final end of the story, but I think it ended in an acquisition.
I remember seeing them in the in Bear's Den, the place in back of the Bear's Den.
Yeah,
what was that place called?
Pause and Go.
Pause and Go.
Wow, that I'm impressed with myself. Pause and Go.
Pause and Go. I remember seeing
PAWS.
Right.
PAWS.
It's a pun.
Yeah.
It's a pun. I get it. That is so funny. Very
You're right.
impressive.
They were there. That might have been their first retail location. Yeah.
So wait, I want to go back for a moment because you very casually dropped that as a sophomore in college, you bought 2 companies.
Yes.
It's not like we didn't have other things going on. It would have been insane alone to do one company or one additional venture outside of our normal day-to-day lives in college. What made you want to jump into so many, quite frankly, hard endeavors so early, and what gave you the confidence that you could pull that off?
It's a great question, and it's something I think about a lot. For the question I think about a lot is when I have future kids, hopefully, which my wife would be very happy to. My wife, who is also my third business partner.
We'll make sure to edit that part out. No, I'm kidding.
Who's also my third business partner, would be happy to know. I always think about if when I have kids, if they come to me with what I wanted to do in college, if I would tell them to go for it, even though it's workout, if I would say this is crazy. Confidence is the wrong word. I was 18. I was delusional.
Right.
It is true that if I knew everything that starting and running a business takes now, if I knew it then, I probably wouldn't have done it. That's not to say I don't love it. I do. I love both. But at the time you kind of tell yourself, like, why not? And how bad can it be? And how hard can it be? Turns out really freaking hard.
Yeah.
As any entrepreneur knows, it's really hard and tests you on a daily basis for your mental toughness and determination. But at the time, it was really just, why not us? And I think almost a little bit of, what's the worst that can happen? This all blows up and we lose $30,000. Okay, that would suck, but if that happens, are we gonna have regret doing it? And we were like, no, we think even if this goes to zero and we lose all our money, we'll still be happy that we actually did it and made that leap.
The NVIDIA CEO, Jensen Huang, also said the same thing of, if I knew how hard this was going to be, I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, a little bit of different scales, but yeah, I've heard him.
A little bit of, yeah.
I've heard him say that.
Why? I mean, we can get into specific stories, but what are examples of the kinds of things that have happened to you, not to you, happened on your journey over the last decade plus, that makes you even have some of those thoughts? Like, what are some of the challenges that weren't things that you thought before were possible?
We almost went out of business within the first 4 months of having purchased the business. So when we bought the business, let's say we had, can go back even to, we still use the same Bank of America checking account. So I could go back to our statements.
That you opened up at WashU, probably?
It was before the original legacy one from the founders that they opened up that we inherited.
They opened up.
We have the same account. So I could go back to the statements from that day, but we couldn't have had more than $12,000 or $13,000 total in the business. And within a few months of buying the business, we got a call from either Visa or MasterCard saying, this order you guys just accepted payment for, that we had just processed and already sent out all the goods, which at the time was the biggest order we had ever gotten. Turns out it was used with a stolen credit card.
Oh.
And we said, okay, we didn't know that. What happens now? And they said, the liability's on the merchant. We are yanking the funds.
Wow.
And so we were at first shocked. We're like, what do you mean the liability's on the merchant? There's no recourse for you guys to go get the money back? They were like, no, there is recourse. This is the recourse. We go to the merchant, we take the money from you, and we give it back to the person whose credit card was stolen.
Right.
And we said, we had asked a bunch of questions about how do we actually prevent this in the future. And there are, of course, things you can do in terms of verifying addresses, and you could even get signatures that we weren't doing, but that was the conclusion. So we had $12,000, they yanked $10,000 out of our account. And then about 3 days later, we got a letter from the licensing organization that runs all of the Greek licenses, saying, we're auditing you guys for royalties. We want to see all of your orders and all your database, turn them over. And we thought, okay, no worries. We have nothing to hide. Let's give them all of our orders and have them audit everything. And this was, the previous owners being naive, but it turns out the previous owners had come up with a scheme that we didn't know about. And for the record, they're all great guys. So this was like them just getting carried away and being 18 years old. But they had come up with a scheme to basically only report on 20% of the orders. And when we bought the business, we had never done due diligence before. So we didn't even know what questions to ask to figure out, and how to look through all the orders to actually figure out if they were fully in compliance. So then when this organization, Affinity, came back to us, they said, hey, you owe us $25,000 in back royalties. And we said, we don't have $25,000. So we ultimately came up with a payment plan for them, came up with a payment plan for with all of our apparel suppliers, with UPS, everyone, and just basically asked them to show us some mercy while we fixed it.
Wow.
And so, yeah, so we fixed that problem, and we've now been working with Affinity, and I think are now their either biggest or second biggest um, payer of Greek royalties in the nation
Really?
across any product, not just apparel, any product with a Greek mark. Um, and yeah, we almost went out of business, for a couple months after having paid for this thing.
Wow. I never knew that story. And you mentioned Greek life, but obviously the business has expanded into all kinds of ways, both within Greek life and outside of Greek life. Can
Yeah.
you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, the business has expanded in a bunch of different ways. We kind of have a few different core pillars of the business. So, Greek life and collegiate organizations was like the foundational V1 first pillar.
And to be clear, we're talking about branded shirts and really anything that you can
Correct.
put your logo on.
Anything that you can decorate, anything that you can embellish or put a logo on, we
Water
can we
bottles,
can do. Yeah, I mean,
hats.
we've the order that was a fraudulent credit card was you decorated USB chips, which obviously are now completely irrelevant, but that was how far reaching we would go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'll do notebooks, candles, like all, anything that someone could want to potentially brand. So that was the first pillar and the first version of the business. Then we added our what we call our inside sales team, which is servicing all corporate accounts.
Mhm.
So a lot of that is predominantly corporate gifting. So company X wants to put together a gift box for all their employees, all their top customers. They need us to print a bunch of different items, fulfill it, put it into a box, and then ship it out all around the country. So that's a big part of our business as well. We have our own line that we call Fresh Prince Exclusives, which is our cut and sew program. So we've designed and developed now 130. Hopefully, Yolite doesn't kill me if I get this wrong. 130 products.
Wow.
So those are all Fresh Prince labeled, and we primarily decorate on those, but also sell blanks as well. Um, and then the last totally unrelated pillar of the business is a business that we rolled out of Fresh Prince called Frontier, which is an international hiring and staffing agency and an employer of record. So our clients for that will say, hey, I need to hire 10 customer service reps or 10 engineers or 10 data scientists. I can't quite afford an American salary. What other talent pools in the world can you find me talent from? We predominantly focus on India and the Philippines, and we have deep networks in both countries. We'll advertise jobs, find candidates, and then we'll do all legal and compliance so that our customers don't have to go set up an entity in India or the Philippines to go pay their employees.
And that came about as you guys were expanding
Yeah,
and brought your own operations into places like India and the Philippines.
yeah.
And after a while, you and stop me if I'm wrong, but you saw how that was helping you guys scale. And
I mean that, but we also saw where I hate phrases like this, but we did see where the future of work was going. There were, I mean,
so
because
you know where it is, the future of work?
Steve, I know where it
I've
is.
been looking.
We're here. The future is here. The future is now. We it's actually interesting because that iteration of the business made a lot of sense to us because we were already fully distributed. Our campus managers were already all around the country. We had 100 campus managers around the nation, and we were managing them.
These are students at college campuses who are
Correct.
in charge of bringing you different projects. Kappa's going to formal in the spring.
More than
They need
bringing
some-
us, that we train them to run the entire sale from beginning to end.
Right.
So starting with prospecting all the way to quoting, managing all the proofs of concepts, managing timeline and submission of the order.
Right. And How many campuses did you say you're on now?
We are on 230
Wow.
with around 720 campus managers in total.
And that's been a huge part of your guys' ethos for a lot of years now, is teaching people how to become their own entrepreneurs, basically build their own
Yeah.
little company within your company,
Yeah,
right?
no, that's exactly right. I mean, the original ethos was entrepreneurship in particular is a game of self-belief. Um, for most people, it's a question of starting and actually believing that they can do it. And our belief there was, in order to do that, you actually have to get people started young, and give them the framework and the tools to actually do it. Starting a business is scary. There's usually some component of building technology, some component of building supply chain, finding partners, raising money. So we thought, what if we can make some of this more accessible, and we'll be the financiers, we'll build the technology, and then we'll teach you how to manage supply chain, how to quote, how to actually build products. And we're really more or less teaching you what we think is the single most important part of entrepreneurship, which is sales.
Always. Sales is hard, man.
Sales is hard.
And I'm curious, is there a common thread between campus managers who really thrive and those that don't? Is it just sheer will of making things happen? Is it that they have a certain tenacity that others don't? What is the common thread among campus managers who seem to do really well with Fresh Prince?
Yeah. Not to borrow too much, but to borrow a little bit. I do think there is a difference between people who can go 0 to 1 versus 1 to n. I ask myself that question a lot, like which is obviously the most interesting question that you could ask, like what are the characteristics that, and what is the pattern recognition you could do to actually determine the difference between someone who can take nothing and make something appear,
right,
versus someone who needs some sort of existing foundation and
the
some sort of
0
proof
to
of,
1 is hard.
It's hard, and there seems to be an archetype of personality that can do it, and it's somewhat rare.
Yeah.
People who can do it, first of all, seem to be relentlessly determined. I mean, almost to a point where we've internally called it irrational persistence. They seem to be determined to a point where, when you're listening to them describe their stories and what they did to achieve success, you're like, are you broken? And when you do think about it in the lens of irrationality, it makes sense why most people don't have that amount of determination.
Because a rational person would
stop. They would be like, this is too painful, this is too expensive, I'm losing too many relationships close to me. The amount of sacrifice we did make to like get Fresh Prince working was massive. I think a rational person would be like, why am I giving up all of these things for this business?
Right. And but of course, on the other side, it's now
there's glory.
There's
glory. I mean, people want to talk to people on the other side, even our best campus managers, and they're like, how do you do it? And the best campus managers, all they can say is like, I was up all night for like months in a row.
I had someone come to me recently who was starting their own agency. And they asked me, so how do you get clients? And this is something that hasn't been working over the last 10 years in this industry. I was like, well, that was the work.
Yeah.
Is being an entry level and staying up late nights and over delivering and continuing to come back even when you don't understand what you're working so hard for. It's hard to just start the work when you're ready for the reward.
And it's a certain, I mean, the other thing that I would say is there's a certain amount of, you have to be comfortable with a certain amount of loneliness.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, when multiple customers in a row leave you, or multiple employees in a row quit, or for our campus managers, I mean, a lot of things, some of the things that take a lot of our campus managers out is they suffer a series of losses. So, like, they get a few big clients and those clients leave,
Yeah.
and then they throw in the towel. And there's a certain amount of ability to handle when those moments happen, you feel alone. And you have to, people that can go 0 to 1, there's just something psychologically that's kind of a little bit broken, where they like these normal emotions that people feel, they just don't quite feel them in the same way.
Right. No, that 0 to 1, that ability to move past the lull of whatever the bad thing is that's happened, that's when most people give up. And it's really damn hard to stick with it.
Yeah.
It really is. I want to switch topics, some more fun topics.
Okay. I think that was pretty fun though.
I think that was pretty fun. Um, I don't disagree, but I want to hear a little bit about your media diet. What do you read? What do you watch? What do you listen to?
Okay.
Start with some sort of basic generic things that we can all get behind, and then go to more some fringe stuff.
Okay, some fringe stuff. My media diet is kind of all over the place right now.
Yeah.
Um,
What's going on your digital rectangle?
on my digital rectangle. I read the Times. I read the Wall Street Journal. I watch a decent amount of CNN, especially somewhat recently.
Due to any particular story or?
I mean, the past couple of years has been mainly being interested in the conflict in the Middle East. Yeah.
What's going on over there?
Yeah, I don't know. I heard there might be a little brouhaha. Yeah, actually, when on after October 7th, and this is not recent. I haven't done this in maybe the last year, but I started really reading every local paper in the region. So I started. It was, and I forget all of the names, but for a couple weeks, just daily, I wanted to see how everything was being reported. In
like Haaretz and
yeah. No, but like I was the main paper in Beirut, the main paper in Gaza, the main one, I forget the main one in Syria, like every neighboring country. I was just curious, like, you kind of want to see the lens that the story is being told through in every lens. So I was like, and you obviously read some pretty disturbing stuff on that journey. But that was kind of my approach then, was just like, how many different voices and perspectives can I see?
How do you evaluate
my media, to answer your question though, my media, I think people are often very disturbed and confused when they see my like YouTube history, because it's such a hodgepodge.
Yeah.
Like, I will I'll watch Joe Rogan, but we'll also watch the Young Turks, and I'll watch Ben Shapiro, but I'll also watch Rachel Maddow. Like, I will, it will be it's such a hodgepodge, because I'm so wary of confirmation bias, and I always want to know, if I believe something, like, what is the strongest argument on the other side.
Yeah. Which most people aren't willing to do. Most people are sort of stuck in their own echo chambers and aren't interested in exploring that other side.
Yeah.
It gives them too much anxiety. And what about from more of forget about hard news, from just a more pop culture lens? Are you listening to podcasts? Are you watching Netflix? What kind of content, news or otherwise, are you consuming? You watch a lot of sports. We watch a lot of golf.
Watch a lot of sports. Watch a lot of golf. Podcasts. I love Barry Weiss's podcasts.
What do you think of her coming over to CBS
Yeah,
News?
I just when did that happen?
Over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, what do I think? I think she can go wherever she wants.
Well, I guess.
I mean, I think she can go wherever she wants. I hope she, but I'm not really worried about it. I think she's an independent thinker, and I think that's why I like her so much. I think she's very committed to independent thought, and I hope that she continues to do that wherever it is.
Well, I guess I'm asking more from the vantage point of you talk to someone like my dad,
Mm-hmm.
uh, who would argue, oh, this is Paramount's move to create a Fox competitor.
Seems kind of hysterical to me.
I think so too. And Barry Weiss is right of center.
I think the more generous explanation would be, I think it's Paramount's move to I think it's good if news has multiple different opinions and perspectives. That's what we should go back to. The more generous view is, news in every direction has gotten so polarized. It's almost a joke that you could, before any of us turn on any given channel, we know exactly what they're going to say. Based on if you tell me I'm about to turn on Fox, what are they going to say? I could tell you. If you tell me I'm about to turn on MSNBC, what are they going to say? I could tell you.
Right.
There is no integrity in journalism, and if that's the case.
You and I talk frequently about how it's certainly not a hot take to say that we are divided and polarized, but especially as of late, it has been clear that there are two realities happening, and
seems like more than two. Seems like there are many different realities happening.
There really are. So Barry Weiss,
I do love.
I like Barry Weiss too.
I saw someone when they were. I think maybe it was on Democracy Now. So I mean that shows you the type of range of stuff I watch. But they described her. They're like, CBS buys this right wing. I'm like, if you're watching, how is she Sure, she definitely leans to the right, no question. But to describe it's so
to put
crazy.
Everything in Tucker Carlson territory.
To describe her as right wing is so dishonest to anyone who's watched. I mean, the only thing I can assume is that they actually haven't listened to any of her podcasts, which honestly might be the case.
John Oliver, did you see John Oliver did a whole piece on her the other night?
What did he say?
A 30-minute piece on how Barry Weiss is going to destroy CBS News and how she has no right to be there. She's not even a journalist. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, talk about losing the plot of what's.
But then you must conclude, right, that he really just hasn't. John Oliver doesn't strike me as a dumb guy.
No,
you really must conclude that he hasn't listened to any of it and is just he just hasn't listened.
I think he hasn't listened, and I think he's probably listening to staff that say one thing versus another.
Yeah.
But
so I mean, maybe to some degree that's going to happen, and hopefully he comes back and listens to some and is like, oh wow, I had this one wrong.
Yeah.
But
he's yet to do. He's been wrong on. He's been wrong on some things over the years, and I would like to see someone.
If someone's actually legitimately concerned if Barry Weiss corrupting CBS, then they haven't listened to her. They just haven't listened to her at all. That's all I can say.
I would tend to agree with you. Let's shift gears to golf. We play a lot of golf.
We do play a lot of golf.
We're playing golf again in a couple of days.
We are.
How's your golf game been this summer? Have you been happy with it?
No.
No.
Can you be happy with your golf game?
No.
I don't know. Is there anyone, if you asked 100 people, are you happy with your golf game? I don't think you'd get one person who'd say yes.
Maybe Scotty Scheffler.
Maybe Jake Siwak would be happy with his golf game.
Maybe Jake Siwak sometimes.
Sometimes.
Do you think Scotty Scheffler is happy with his golf game?
If you asked him that question, would he say I'm happy with it?
Yeah.
No, I think he'd tell you the stuff he wants to get better at.
What is there to get better at?
I think that's what makes him great.
Right.
I think he always has stuff he wants to get better at.
You only took up golf 3 years ago?
3 years ago.
Crazy.
What a journey.
What a journey.
What a journey.
You and Greg Giannotti from WFAN
I mean,
both took up
Greg.
golf.
I always say Greg and I are best friends.
Wha-
We're two pieces of pod.
What got you into golf in the first place? Because it wasn't me.
It was actually my mom.
Oh,
My mom got into golf, which I'm very thankful to her for.
yeah.
And she said, I'm joining a club. They have a discounted rate if you want to join, because that would make you a legacy. She goes, here's the rate. Do you want to join? And I said, sure, why not? I'll do it. Bought a random set of clubs that I still haven't used that people make fun of me for. Basically, a children's set.
These are the ones that you actually never bring to the golf course with you.
Well, now I bring them now with
Okay.
you, but then my bag does have to get changed out because I still don't have a walking bag. But I bring these clubs now. But at the beginning, I didn't even bring the clubs.
Right.
You
didn't even bring the shoes.
I didn't even bring the shoes. I didn't know. I was so into golf. I didn't know that you were getting charged for the rental set. So once I figured out that people were getting charged for the rental set, then I was like, okay, I got to.
I'll send you a bill.
Yeah, send me a bill. I'll pay that out.
Yeah.
And that's a separate funny story. But one of my friends who also invited me, I was like, I have to pay for your freaking rental set every time. I was like, no, I didn't know that. I got it. Okay. But yeah, so I started playing, like really immediately fell in love, played a lot the first summer, got down to 5.7.
Insane.
Which was just
a joke.
Endless golfing. And I love it. I mean, there's so many things I love about it. I love the fact that you can play across skill level. I love the fact that regardless of, in golf, it doesn't matter. I could be with someone I despise, but when I'm on the golf course with them, they don't seem so bad.
I totally get that.
They don't seem so bad.
I totally get that.
But for most people, I love that I could really kind of hate your guts, but we're out in the golf course, and all of a sudden I could think,
what a great guy.
What a good guy. What a good guy.
But golf season's wrapping up.
We'll go down to Florida.
We'll go down to Florida.
We'll go down to Florida.
You and I, we've talked about a couple of golf trips that we need to organize. Maybe this year. We also got to go out to Utah.
We have so much to do.
We have so many places to go.
So many places to go.
So many golf courses to play.
So many golf courses to play.
And what's next on the Fresh Prince journey for the rest of this year and 2026?
So the most exciting recent development is we just, and I don't want to be like one of those annoying AI people.
Getting into AI.
We're getting into AI, the future. AI is the future.
A computer.
No, look, I am not, I'm very skeptical of AI hype in general.
Mm-hmm.
I subscribe to the view that AI is meaningful and it's going to matter, but the world is not going to crumble, and it's not going to displace as many jobs as people think.
Sometimes you hear people say AI is overhyped in the short term, underhyped in the long term. Do you agree with that, or not so much?
Right now, AI feels really freaking hyped. I don't know how it gets more hyped than this.
No.
So it feels just overhyped in general.
I don't even.
I'm not saying it's a zero. It's definitely not. I just, some of the views that, like, you can see, some of the bets people are making on AI seem like they are assuming that people will serve zero. And some of the stuff you hear people saying seems like they're saying that people will, serve zero utility in the economy, which is, I believe, is far from true.
Right. I mean, we've invested in some AI this year. I would say I've been disappointed in the ROI thus far
That you've gotten.
Yeah. I mean, because the whole point is that I thought the point was that it's supposed to increase efficiencies and allow, well, Yeah, I mean, the point was to increase efficiencies and allow people to take on more creative, deep thought work.
Yeah.
I have not found that
Yeah, you're
to
thinking
be.
less.
I'm so
your,
so
your, your
far,
thoughts are getting shallower.
so far. Well, and especially in our world and content creation, it is easy to put something into ChatGPT and say like, "Well, what do you think about this?"
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's there we've obviously seen an uptick of people submitting AI generated work, but if it's if someone's using AI well and it's thoughtful, great. But sometimes it's clearly completely disconnected from what the actual prompt was or what the objective was, and
Right.
then it's easy to disqualify. And I imagine the same thing's true, right? Like the best people you have here will be using it as a tool to make themselves more productive and think better. Anyone who thinks that like they can just rely on it to do work for them, they'll turn in stuff that's garbage, and eventually that'll run out.
It'll catch up to them.
Yeah.
Um, well, great. It was wonderful to have you here as a
Thank you,
guest.
Stephen. It was wonderful to be here. I love this room.